So first thing I'm going to do is create a vertebra. And I'm just going to create a very simple cylinder to try to suggest so I'm going to make that a little larger. So that represents the body of the vertebra. Okay. Move it up a little bit. Now I'm going to make a cube. And then I'm going to preview it. So I'm going to hit 3. And I'll scale it larger so you can see better what's going on. And then I'm going to say modify, convert, smooth mesh to preview. And then I'm going to smooth it even more. Only because I want you to understand the point of how the lattice and cluster work, okay? So now I'll scale it to make it look a little more consistent with the okay. And that's not a great looking disc, but it will get the point across, okay? So now with this selected, the first thing I'm going to do is delete the history. Now I'm going to freeze its transformations. I'm going to make sure the pivot point is centered. And then I'm going to go to deform and say lattice. And I'm going to use this setting. I'm going to take a picture of it to make sure I remember. Okay, so now I have a lattice. So with this lattice from the side view, what I'm going to do is say lattice points, and I'm going to say, say lattice points, and I'm going to drag a box that gets me all 4 points, and then I'm going to go back to the deform menu, say create a cluster. Alright, so there's my cluster. Now if I move that cluster, it changes the shape of the lattice because the cluster controls the lattice points, and the lattice points control the top half of the vertices in this disc that we've made. Okay, so I'm going to do some labeling so I know what's going on. That's my vertebra. And this is my disc. Okay, now I'm going to grab the vertebra, and I'm going to go change my window here to rigging, my menu, set to rigging, go under skeleton and say create joint, and I'm going to click basically right in the middle there. I'll hold out the X key so it snaps to the grid. Let's see where I am in terms of so I hit 4, and you see the joint's way down there, so I want to move it up so that I'm in the center of the disc. I'm sorry, of the vertebra here. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the vertebra. I'm going to delete its history, I'm going to freeze its transformations, and I'm going to center its pivot. Then I'm going to shift select joint, go under skin. Actually, I'm not even doing that. I'm going to take the joint and take the vertebra, and middle mouse drag it on top of the joint. Now, there's a little plus symbol here next to the joint. You can see there is the vertebra. Now the next thing I do is I'm going to take this cluster and middle mouse drag it under the vertebra. So now it's important to understand the cluster is not under the joint, it's under the vertebra. So when I rotate the joint, I not only rotate the vertebra, but I rotate the cluster, and the cluster then deforms the disc. By dragging the vertebra, middle mouse dragging it onto the joint, I basically did the same thing as if I had said skin, find skin, and say select the joints. The critical importance of that is all the vertices in the vertebra now are uniformly under control of the joint, and that makes sure that the bone doesn't like bend or twist when I rotate the joint. Okay, no matter which way I do with the joint, the disc is now going to happen to go with it. Whoa, Nelly. Okay. Okay, so that's all we need to do for that.